Okay, we're recording. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the first meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee in quite a while. It is February 22nd, 2021 at 7:05, and we're calling the meeting to order. And present we have Cindy Palmer, Brittany Taylor, Jim Cini, and myself, Chris Fowles. Francine is at another meeting tonight, and we're hoping maybe Christina will join us, Christina Madsen. But if not, we do not have a quorum at the present time because of our vacancies. We need at least one more person to get us up there, but that's pretty okay. We don't have too much to vote on tonight anyway. So Cindy, we do have the minutes, but oh, here she comes. Very good. Very good. Very good. Here comes Christina. So that's 5 of us. So I think we're good. Let's just catch her on here for a minute. Hey, Christina. Maybe.
She's trying to come on.
Yeah, she's trying. I see her name, but I don't hear her yet. Come, she's connecting, so just give it a second. Hey, Christina, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you.
Okay,
now,
good.
I'll say that our electricity has gone off twice within the past half hour. Has it for you as well?
It is for Cindy and Brittany, so we may have a very sparse meeting here, but we'll try to get through it very, very quickly here.
Okay, you know, and if it goes out again, I'll be.
Yeah, no, we may not all be here. So we have 5 of us now. Francine's not joining us, so we have a quorum at least. So Cindy, why don't you pull up the minutes from the last meeting? And it's been a while since we've looked at these, but
there's two sets of minutes, and I did email them to everybody ahead of time, so I don't know.
So this is the one for November 4th, 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's see, I'll let you just kind of scroll down a little bit on them, and you can move the document a bit.
I'll try.
Just scroll down on your side. I think, there you go. Yeah, get the basic body of it. So this is when Ken presented his draft of his PowerPoint, I believe, right?
At the select board meeting. This was the joint meeting with the select board.
Oh, okay. All right. Was it really? Okay. No. The next meeting is under new business.
Oh, it's scheduled for, okay, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so we just basically, yeah, that's right.
Oh,
he
sorry,
presented it. He
Yeah,
presented it for us in advance. Yeah.
But this is the October meeting, not the November one. I saw the November one a minute ago. So this is the October 27th meeting.
No, it's not. Those were the minutes of October 27th that we reviewed.
Voted on. Right.
This is right up here.
Yep.
See, November 4th.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it. Okay. All right. Other than my own confusion, does anybody else have any quick thoughts on this, or do we have a motion to go ahead and approve these minutes?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. Could I have a second?
Second.
All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Cini, aye.
Madsen, aye.
Palmer, yes.
Taylor, Brittany?
Yeah, aye.
Okay, and Chris Fowles, aye. Okay, let's consider those minutes approved. Thank you. And then a second set, Cindy?
Very short.
Okay, you have to take the first one down.
Oh, I thought I did.
No.
Oh, sorry. Let me do this.
Yeah, you can only share one at a time, so. At least on my screen.
Probably the same here. Sorry. How's that?
Not yet. Share it.
No, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm out of Zoom. Hold on.
We're still seeing you, so.
You're seeing me, but all
Just go down to, okay, yeah,
right, just wait 1 second.
no problem.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah, it looks like it's coming. All right.
Nice.
Okay, this is the joint one with the select board. Yeah, this is the short and sweet one, as you were saying. Correct. Okay, and this was the actual PowerPoint presentation that Ken had done. So that's basically what we have here. Yep.
Yep.
Good. All right.
So point of order.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't attend this meeting. Can I vote to approve minutes to a meeting I wasn't at, or do I need to abstain?
And neither was Brittany. Interesting.
Well, I will say it's come up before in other meetings like planning board, and they say, fine, vote on them.
Yeah. I don't think we can, there was not a whole lot of heavy duty decision making here. I would say let's go ahead and vote on this and be done with it, because this was a joint presentation to the
I
select
mean, I
board.
read them. They seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's all recorded. It's all online. It's been up on our website for a couple months now. So there was really no decision making. It was really just saying that we were in the presence of select board and had this joint meeting, really. So I'd say let's go ahead and vote on it.
Then I move to accept as written.
Second,
All right. And could we have a roll call again, please?
that's
Oh,
fine.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor, I.
Okay.
Senior eye.
Okay. And Chris Fowles, aye. Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. We'll just put those on up for the record and be done with them. That's good. Great. Okay. Well, we have only basically one major thing tonight, but I do want to start off in one thing in the quote unquote open time for the public, only because I neglected to send it to you too much ahead of time. I was reminded that we have to do our little blurb for the annual report, the annual town report. And so I'd sent it to you earlier today, and I know most of you probably haven't had a chance to read it. So I don't want to go through it. It's only one page, but I just wanted to explain a couple things here. There's a set format that they send out to all the chairs of the committees. So you can't change the font, you can't change the margins, et cetera, et cetera. So I did my best to squeeze it all on one page, but it definitely needs a little bit of editing and shortening. And I will work on that maybe with Cindy's help tomorrow sometime. But we need to get probably a couple sentences worth out of here, just so I've got room down at the bottom and not have it so tight down to the footer here. But I just wanted to explain one thing in that I did put in the first paragraph about what we did, kind of summing up 2019. And I did that when I meant to get my report. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Sorry. I did that because last year, somehow, I guess the notice must have come out when Mike was still with us, and yet there was no submission. So master plan does not even have anything written in the 2019 report. So I thought it was really important that we put in a paragraph that quickly summarized all the laborious work we had done in 2019. So that's what you see in that first paragraph. If anybody has any issues with that, I can take it out. It does make it a little bit longer, but it just felt like we needed to at least put that on record somewhere.
Mhm.
I think you should just keep it in there, Chris. I think it's really good that you've got the reference in there, and if in 10 years somebody's looking back, they can see that.
Yeah. Well, what I'll tell you too, the funny thing is, even though there's nothing in the town report for 2019, there is a list of the master plan committee members in the cover. of the, the prelude to the report. Somebody else can tell me when these people were around. Bob Barkham, Lauren Bell, Arthur Lawrence, Thomas Morse, and Mark Reed. So not only were we not in there, we have a committee that was not in reality either. So I just felt we had to really kind of correct that. So anyway, we'll have the right committee members in, but that's why I thought it was important to just summarize the work we had done with Mike before we started in with our survey and all the work with Ken. So I'm not gonna have us vote on anything. If in general, I just wanted everybody to be aware that this is what we're going to be trying to submit. And like I said, we need to just chop it down to bite size a little bit and make some edits to sort of get rid of my wordiness as usual. Okay. So if nobody has any real objections to that idea, I'll see if I can corral Cindy and her editing prowess here to help me out tomorrow, and then we'll get it submitted by the middle of the week before it's due. Any comments or questions?
I didn't have time to read it after work, so I can't comment.
Okay, well, if you have a chance to read it and want to send me any thoughts tomorrow, that's fine, Christina.
Okay.
No big deal. Like I say, we won't do any real voting on it tonight. So just, I knew I sent it out late, and I just wanted to cover it so that we realized that we were participating in the town report like we should. Okay, so with that in mind, so anybody that wants to send a quick, email with some comments, we'll just take them that way, and then I'll work with Cindy to incorporate any changes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on. The main thing is we got this report from Ken, and I'm hoping people have had a chance to at least look at that, and especially just focusing on those first 10 pages. I guess I'll start out with a couple of my comments, if that's okay. I frankly was a little surprised. I was expecting something a bit different. And in terms of having more of a roadmap and an action plan itself, I felt that a lot of the pages after the first 9 or 10 were stuff that, it's basically what we did, which is all necessary for the record. It's all good, but I've found those to be more appendices than anything else. I mean, I didn't see them as the body of the report. So I had some questions about the organization of what was presented. And I did have a chat with Ken just a day or two ago, and he basically realized that he had put a couple things together that probably didn't make sense. So he's willing to do some revisions on this based on our comments tonight. One of the things that we talked about was not necessarily focusing so much on the 10 to 15 year goals, but really focusing on both what's been done, what the immediate goals are in the 1 to 5 year term frame, the short term goals, because that to me is the action plan. So to resort, if you will, some of the findings of those charts that we did, the Smarty chart and all the strategies, to just really lay out in the body of the report what's been accomplished out of the goals and strategies, and what ones we're going to be focusing on going forward, and having yet the entire thing as an appendix, but not in the body of the report. So that's kind of where we got on that. So just to say, he's willing to do one last, put it all together and revise what he needs to, but he wants to do it one last time. So combining any comments we have tonight, and he will work on it and get it back to us within a couple weeks, and that will be considered our final product. Okay, so that's it. Does anybody have some thoughts about what they read in those first pages, in terms of if you were reading it cold or even not? Just your thoughts. So anybody, feel free.
Well, when I finished looking it over, I questioned what new information is in there. It doesn't seem, does it make our path any easier, our path forward? And I didn't think, just according to what you have just said,
Mhm.
I didn't think it really addressed that very well. I actually found the 90 pages kind of cumbersome and maybe somewhat redundant too.
Yeah.
It wasn't really what I expected either.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, there are plenty of typos, and I assume he's going to get rid of those. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Or we shouldn't go over them as a committee. One person
No.
could do it, but there were a lot of minor typos.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was, yeah, I didn't read it to that level, but yes, okay. I wouldn't doubt there are some, though. Yeah, we'd have to be sure that those get corrected. Yeah, and like I say, I do think there is relevance to, or importance to, kind of having things documented to show how we went about our process and what we did to update the plan after these many years, just for the record. But I agree that it's not the document that you can easily pick up and say, okay, here's where we go. So,
Right.
yeah. Jim, any thoughts there?
Pretty consistent to what people are saying.
Mhm.
And I don't know really if that was Ken's place, to say where we're going so much as opposed to summarize what he did for us.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I thought that that he came on as an advisor to help us get our minds around this fairly unwieldy document and help us really focus.
Mm.
And I think Chris and Ken kind of struggled with this, had a little tug right from the beginning, what his role was going to be. And I don't think that it was ever particularly in sync, right?
Yeah.
I think he's done his best according, but I think, as I think back to the original master plan committee, there were deficiencies there in the writing of the original master plan. To my mind, too much was loaded in to make it sort of unworkable.
Mhm.
Everything that could be imagined that could go into a master plan was put in there. There wasn't any
Mhm.
selective high grading or prioritizing, and that seems to me as though where we're at today as well. And I think maybe the impression I have gotten right from the beginning is that Ken, and I think he's done a lot of work, he's put a huge amount of effort into this, but he had a certain direction that he was going, and I have always thought it's been a little bit different than where we were hoping to have it go.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because I've always felt that this is unwieldy. I haven't really even know how to wrap my head around how you start accomplishing, really digging into the master plan and accomplishing things systematically and in a prioritized way. And I guess this report doesn't leave me any wiser.
Mm.
The direction that I know how to approach it from.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Brittany, some thoughts?
I actually unfortunately didn't get to read through it, but I'm just kind of
Okay.
skimming it right now and
Okay.
got stuck reading the comments.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Cindy, anything?
I certainly agree with what Jim and Christina have said so far, and you and I talked a little earlier today as well. I did expect, especially after all the effort on the survey, to see a focus on priorities as the town indicated to be their number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 priorities, with a pretty clear sense of what resources are available, what resources could be pursued, what's missing, what we don't have, like money or for something.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to say, I don't see that in this report. I see a lovely, colorful, includes pictures, and I'm sort of sorry that he went back to the whole chapter strategies and goals that we already have been through a lot. Um, I was looking for more of an update and a clearer roadmap. I hate to sound critical, but that's what I was looking for. And I thought that's what I heard him say he was going to help us
Mhm.
with. That's my comment. I mean, he certainly did a ton of work while he was working with us last year. However, it's the clarity of where do we go from here that I don't see on this.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that's fair. That, and back to Christina's point, yeah, I think very much at the beginning, our first meeting or two, we were, or at least I was hearing more just, a report. And I think I kept emphasizing the fact that I wanted an action plan. So I think, we did have some differing perspectives at the beginning. I will say, just to add on one thing, I just reminded myself of one other point that I brought up to him with these charts. So one of those, the strategy charts, I believe, are the ones that we finished up with Mike. So that was our final version of what we thought had been done and where we were re-ranking things, if you recall, as to priorities. Okay. So what he and I talked about, and I just am so tired of looking at those grid lines. What he and I talked about too was to say, okay, chapter 1, which I don't have it right in front of me, but whatever chapter 1 is.
Housing.
Okay, is that housing? Okay, so housing and demographics, right? So for chapter 1, he would present just that slice of those goals and objectives. So here would be, what's already been done with housing. Here's what the short 1 to 5 year plan is, maybe in terms of the priorities that we graded, if you remember using that Smarty technique, right, with Mike. So he's going to try and do that sort of slice from the chart, but then underneath it, write the narrative about it. So right after that section, he's going to give another page or whatever, half a page or something, on the narrative responding to that issue of housing. And in there, he is going to put things like resources, contacts, steps forward. He has committed himself to doing that. So that is how I would foresee it being laid out. So housing would be there where we've got, chapter 1, here's these whatever 5 goals and objectives, looking at them as to what's been accomplished and the short-term ones, specific guidance as to what we might think about pursuing. Same thing with chapter 2 with the narrative, then the chapter 3 goals and objectives, and then a narrative. So it's broken up and make it easier to read, number 1, but 2, giving us more specificity on, as Cindy said, some of the resources that we can rely on. For example, I don't know if Christina, if you know, we've set up this ad hoc grant committee in town a couple of months ago, and I'm chairing that. And we've jumped on the Greenway in a hurry, as that being the first priority that came out of the survey. We pulled in Paul Fergal for a little bit and have submitted 2 grant applications to try and buy the rail bed. So we'll find out if anything happens. But just to say, that was a relatively easy one to jump on because the grant opportunities were right in front of us and a deadline was right in front of us. And poor Jim, he's been bugged by me because I've had a couple of other things with housing that I've thrown at him too. But there's one, for example, with Ken, there was one, if you remember, our second priority was the broadband public utility one or whatever. So I said to Ken when I was talking to him, I said, look, this is one where select board has brought in the Westfield public light utility folks that are doing this all over the hill towns. They're setting up broadband in Chesterfield and Blandford and everywhere. It's like, we've had the presentation and we know it costs like $4 million, but what do we do? I mean, it came up as a high priority amongst the residents, but how do we even begin with that? So when I mentioned that, that's what kind of, got him to say, oh yeah, well, that's true. That's the kind of thing, you need to have more specificity on. And he said, well, the first thing you've got to do is have a municipal light board. And I said, well, I can pretty much assure you that I don't think we have a municipal light board. So how about giving us some steps as to what we have to do? So that's the kind of thing that I am now, based on our chit chat, hoping that will be in this final version now. I think that's where I was still pushing for that level of specificity and action steps forward. And I'm thinking we're on the same wavelength, and that's what he's committing to doing. So if that helps to satisfy some of your worries, I think we're closer than we were. How about that?
Good.
Okay. And and probably the same thing for energy. For example, he's worked on a huge solar energy project with PVPC. They have all this massive guidance now for, like, if there's a big solar company that wants to come into town and set up a solar farm, how does the town deal with that? So there's stuff that he's done. He said, there may be certain things that he's not familiar with, but he would, probe his colleagues and try to find some resources for us. So I think we'll get there if he's willing to spend another couple weeks to pull it together for us.
Did he give you a sense, because here we are already into 2021.
Right.
His DLTA contract with us was for 2020.
Yep. Yeah.
I know he must already be into his new projects. He's probably looking to wrap this up as soon as he can, I should think.
Definitely is. The grant with us ended in December. And we, as much as we've said here tonight, I will guarantee you that we have used more than the dollars that he was allocated of his time to pull this together. So that has ended. He has got some new projects that he's working on, but there will be actually new projects assigned to him probably when the new DLTA grants get awarded, which should happen anytime in the next month or so. So then he'll be really busy. So yeah, he needs to get this off his plate too. So he's got, reason to also jump in and be done with it. So I'm sure it'll happen. But I just wanted to let you know, this is the way I'm thinking about it, is to have some of those goals and objectives, but again, really focusing on the short term that we can grab onto, with more specificity about how to take the first steps. And then the thing we did with Mike can be one of the appendices, just for the record.
I agree with everything you're saying, and I know you had a chance to talk to Ken, and I think you got the sense that he agrees with what you just said right now.
I do.
And that's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
I do. Yeah. No, I do.
So I'm a little surprised, given how much he has put into this, and we're way past December, and he's definitely worked probably more hours than he can bill for.
Yep.
That he's willing to continue. If he is, that's great, but
yeah, no, he is.
that would be my big worry. Is
no, we can't leave it hanging like this. No, he's very committed to finishing it off. And he recognized that he had put, it wasn't clear how he had put all of those things together, because I said these look like appendices to me. This isn't what I was looking for. And I don't know if we need all of the select board presentation PowerPoints in there, and I don't know. In some ways it's good to have it all in one spot for the record, but I don't know. So anybody have any thoughts about that? I kind of feel like the survey should still stay in there, because he did have some narrative going along with that. I'm not
these
sure.
can all be appendices. You have your main
Exactly.
thrust of it, and then it becomes a
Right.
reference stock by keeping it all in there. But
Yeah,
if you make the whole thing not appendices, but a whole thing as a presentation, it's just exhausting to look at.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I think we're all on the same wavelength. So I think that was the way he organized it and put it together made it a little bit confusing, and he recognized that completely. Yeah.
So I'm going to write this in the minutes. So what we're basically saying is all these documents that he included, was he in agreement that he was going to make those appendices and then just kind of make a clear-cut roadmap with summary of next steps for the more achievable goals? Is that what your expectation is that he's going to do?
Yes, I mean, I think for the 8 chapters, right, in the plan, all of those are going to have some level of narrative after each mini chapter where we've outlined what goals and strategies have been achieved and the short-term ones. But yes, for each one. So even for example, on I don't know, the broadband again, or the public safety complex, those were in the top 8 things that came out as the priorities, right? In the survey, they both would fit probably under what, public services and infrastructure, or whatever that chapter is, right? So he would probably refer to them as to how they came out in the survey, but then talk in his little narrative under that section what we might think about doing, what resources we have to start pursuing those goals. So then I think, once we have that, then I think we would go back to probably select board and maybe planning board together and say, okay, here's what we got. We've already jumped on the Greenway. Number 2 is this broadband thing. Are we going to jump on that now, or what do we do? And if so, here's some ways to do that. Does that make some sense? So yeah, I think so.
Certainly housing was a priority too, but we've
Yes.
already been working with the planning board and plan to continue.
Yeah, right. And I think he'll, reflect that possibly too, but there are other grants. I mean, these couple things I've sent you lately are other housing resources that maybe
Right.
not immediately. One of them we're not ready for, but there's another one that we might be, especially if you guys don't get the technical assistance grant from PVPC. There is another funding option. This one-stop grant is another one that could help fund a housing update plan, for example. So there's things like that I'm only learning a little bit because I've gotten my feet into this grant committee now. I'm learning about some of the things that are actually out there that we ought to be, putting our name in for. So
Good.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of it. But just in general, I think we'll keep things toward the appendix side and really look for a 10 to 15 page report, really, that is the action plan, is kind of my thinking. I mean,
Agreed. It has to be readable.
Yeah. And then the next question is, once it's final, there's 2 parts to my question. One is, do we come back as a committee and agree that it's final, or that, can we accept it? And then once we do, I assume that would be posted on the My Town Government as part of master plan implementation, or do we see us seeing it printed and being available in hard copy? I don't know that it's necessary in this day and age to have a lot of hard copies, because
No,
nobody.
I wasn't thinking along those lines. I mean, I think at some point, yes, it needs to go up on the on our master plan, pay or whatever area on mytown.gov. But I would see us, having a joint meeting too with select board and probably plan, or whoever they think should be in on it. But yes, I think my thought would be that we would come back together once we have the final version from Ken, knowing that that's basically it. And if there's any other changes, we need to make them ourselves if we're really, because I'm not going to ask him to do any more than this one last thing, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing, because I, of course, am on the planning board and go to those meetings, so we know it's not actually final, but there's the open space and recreation plan, and there is some crossover on some of these things. We also know, you already referenced that a DLTA grant application has been put in for the housing, which was submitted by planning board. I'm sure, Jim, you're fully aware of that. You've been working with Paul on that, I think. And I get emails from Paul a lot regarding it. He's really invested. But and we all also went through the stormwater bylaw draft. last year. It was a long, long, long process. It has to go to town meeting to
Right.
ratify this. But what's not reflected in this report that we're talking about tonight is any of the things, these are not new, they are things that occurred in 2020. And Ken should know about some of these things so that, you know, there's some crossover on things that are not reflected in this report. That's a little bit of my concern there.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a valid comment too, that some of that should be mentioned about the other kinds of things that we've done in town this year. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Okay, add that to your list of things that I can tell him.
Yeah.
You can. He does know about a lot of those things, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he worked directly on the open space and recreation plan, and he
Well, I
also
don't see Morgan.
had a small involvement with the
I don't see Morgan.
stormwater upgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you wanna
I
mute
guess that's what it is.
Chris, did you have something to say? Christina?
I did, but it's gone out of my mind. I was just a little
Sorry.
sorry. Um,
We're just talking about the other updates. Yeah.
Yes, so getting back to, I think what Cindy said about is it final when he has submitted his next final draft.
Right.
And I thought I heard it said that we could do so, or if more was to be done, we would have to add it. Is that an option for referring to what you've just been talking about, of things going on, things that have taken place and are ongoing that you feel he should put in? But if he doesn't, and if there are things that he doesn't know about, are those things that this committee can actually add to the report?
I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. You know, Ken was basically as our consultant and our advisor to go through it, but it's really master plan that's really been in charge of this as far as I see it. I definitely do not want to take on more work and rewrite this report. This is not my goal. I mean, it's really if there's something that's, you know, obviously missing somewhere that we need to tinker with. But I mean, I'm hoping that what we're going to get is, from what I've described in my conversation with him, a more user-friendly and usable document that can, you know, be of service to various committees. Cindy?
You know, Chris and Christina and everybody, you'll remember the very first meeting we had when Mike was going to become chair, and Francine was kind of the one who convened the Master Plan Implementation Committee. And she had given us a one-page little piece of paper that had kind of an update of what had occurred since the original master plan was written. It was only one page. There might have only been 10 different things that happened. What I foresee, Chris, rather than editing the final report that Ken gives us, we leave it as is, but keep sort of a running, not just minutes, but a running draft update report, and edit that. So if something, for example, broadband kind of happened and it opened up and it became available to the town of Southampton, or we won these grants for the Greenway, or some of these other wonderful things that we think are going to happen, we document that as an update report. And maybe, you know, maybe it's not us, but maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, there's a sort of an update report on where it stands. And it doesn't have to have a PDF. That's what I see happening. We don't edit anything that Ken gives us. It's an additional report.
Okay, well,
Maybe not.
how about if I ask him if he's opposed to us adding, if we find something that we're missing for this current time, if we find something still missing in spite of what he gives us for his final draft, is he okay with us adding into that, or is it not able to be done? I guess we can ask that.
Yeah.
So I guess my thought was that we own the report, so, I mean, his name is on it, but it's still our report as far as I'm concerned, but maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't make those assumptions. But back to your other point, one of the thoughts that I just had as you were speaking, you know, the way this chart, all the goals and objectives from the plan strategies have been laid out, it's in a chart form, literally. If he were able to put that into an Excel document, so it could be, you know, added to and sorted very easily, you know, so that when some strategy was done, it could be marked done. And like you say, we keep a running tally of what's accomplished, when it's accomplished. That would certainly save whatever future committee a whole lot of work doing what we did. So yeah, I totally would favor keeping a running tally of anything that gets accomplished, and that's another, you know, that's a piece of what master plan itself could just be doing as we move along for the coming year. Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. Again, I really don't want to do major editing. I don't have time for it, and I'm really hoping that he will, you know, take it and run with it now that he's got a little bit of clarity. And maybe he was just overwhelmed with what assignments he's already got. So I got the impression from him, I asked him to give me a realistic time frame, and he said it probably a couple weeks, you know, that he was kind of coming up for air and had time to work on this one and be done with it. So I'm confident that he will get us his last best effort. But I think I would leave it that I would rather ask him if there's still something that we find absolutely lacking, is he opposed to us making a final edit of some sort? Is that fair to everybody?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, okay.
It can be
Any-
done in a way also that's separate from his report. You know, it could be, well, I don't know the exact term for what it could be, but it could be an amendment or an
Mhm.
added section. I'm not sure that his report actually has to be altered if he has an objection, but
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think there's a way to get all the information into it one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think, like I say, I think he's got a better better sense now of what I think he can do that would make it much more usable as a document going forward, because I think that's really our goal. None of us want this to sit on the shelf anywhere. It needs to be able to be used. I know Rini is really, you know, happy with what came out of the survey. She's looking forward to trying to use this, I think, honestly, as a roadmap for the select board's priorities and what we're going to try and pursue. So I think we have to make it, you know, make it so that it can be used that way, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Is anybody have any other thoughts about this at all? There were any other odds and ends of things? There was one thing I guess I saw as I was reading through it. He ended up using the figure of the you know, all the different age groups in town, which I think that's when I had gotten him from Lucy, I believe, that reflected the 2019 census in town. I think that had something like 5,800 people or something. And so when he put the results of the survey over that, he came up with a 15% return, and we'd been saying 20, because I'd been using 4,500 as my denominator. And I'm trying to remember, I think I was doing that because I was told that that was the registered voter number in town. So anyway, there's one thing that maybe our figures aren't quite in sync with, but other than that, I didn't come up with anything that was erroneous, I guess. There's a couple things on the one of the chapters, he, in the very beginning, he named one of the things circulation, I believe. And it's actually, I don't know, mobility and transport or something like that. I mean, it seems like we ought to keep to the same names as the original chapters of the plan. Otherwise, it's kind of weird. And I don't think I saw energy in his, it's in that first 2-3 pages where he kind of lists the different chapters. And I don't think energy came out very clearly in that one as well. So I just want to be sure that it's consistent with the plan as people would know it I guess.
I have the exact numbers, Chris.
Okay,
We know that there were 896 respondents,
right.
and I got from our town clerk on the 27th of January that we have 4,822 voters in town.
4822 voters. Okay.
So, and that comes out to be something like 18%
Yeah.
respondents.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I quickly did that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I don't know. Yeah, because the figures that are in there, I had gotten from Lucy too, and it may just be the way that they cut it, from, I don't know, 51 to 60 or something. And, however they've divided those off, it may be a tad different than the town census or something. But
Okay.
anyway, we'll check that somewhere in there. But that was the only sort of figure that seemed a little bit different than what I'd been saying all along. What else? What else? I don't think I have anything other than that. I wasn't intending to go through it by any means. I just wanted to get people's highlights on this. I know one last thing. Francine sent me a note saying she wondered, in the very beginning, if there needed to be like an intro paragraph that people wouldn't necessarily know. I guess the people wouldn't necessarily know what the original master plan did or came up with or something like that. So I don't know. I didn't have a chance to go back and look. I need to clarify that with her a little bit more, but I'm wondering if there was something in the original community visions section of the master plan that talked about why the master plan exists, and just a paragraph intro to the whole thing that Ken started writing, so that it just gives some context for people that have no
I think
clue
that's
about
a
the
good
old
idea.
master
I think
plan,
it's a good idea, Chris.
that have no idea about the old master plan, and nobody's going to go back and look for it and read it. So just the summary that this happened, and it was released and adopted in 2013, and it was the intent to do X, Y, and Z. So I might see if I can get a little bit more clarity from Francine on that, but that might be another suggestion for Ken if anybody thinks that would be useful.
Well,
I do, because I think you need to show, I agree with Cindy, the timeline here and the good intent in the original plan, but how nothing really happened. And that's why it's important that this latest effort is a way to bring that up to date, but also to make sure this time things do happen.
Start happening. Yeah. Christina?
He does outline what a master plan is meant to be, but very generally, and maybe that if the report doesn't want to be made longer, maybe he could be more specific about what our plan was and the results of it, as opposed to that general description of what the role of a master plan is. Is that right in the beginning of the report?
Yeah. And since you were part of that original thing, would you see it as that kind of summary of, this was whatever, a couple year long process with focus groups and blah, 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 to come up with the town's priorities and vision for the future, or
well,
something
I
like
think
that?
it would be quite easy to go back to the original master plan and read those first few introductory pages and perhaps be able to glean something from that could be transferred. I'm happy to do that and get back to you if you'd like me to.
That would be very, very helpful, Christina. You probably know it better than any of the rest of us, and it would avoid, we wouldn't have to necessarily mention all the goals and strategies again, because that is what we lead into, right? So,
right.
But yeah, something like that, I think, just to give it a little bit of grounding as we enter into the document, that would be really great. If you could do that, just shoot it to me by email.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, well, if nobody else has anything major to talk about, I don't have any other new business or old business or any other thing to do here.
Just a couple of things that I was confused with, and we don't have the document in front of us, but maybe quickly, could you, the last 10 pages were called the master plan implementation element update. I couldn't quite figure, they were like half pages. I couldn't figure out how that was fresh information. Reading it on the computer, it's hard to refer back to other pages, but I didn't know what that was.
Okay.
And then I also wondered, it seemed to me, again, he had the goals and strategies from pages 11 to 32, but then it looked like it was all repeated from a pages 33 to 42. It looked like the exact same thing to me in a different format.
Yeah, no, I think so. And he realized that too, that should not have been that way. Yes. So that was definitely
taken out. That was one of the things that made it so cumbersome to me. Just the length and what was a seeming repetitiveness.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's part of that's going to go away. Yes. I'm trying to remember. I don't have it up in front of me either. But the element, I'm remembering a bunch of graphs at the very end. You're not referring to the graphs. You're talking about.
They were like partial pages that looked like repetitive information abbreviated. I could not decipher
Okay.
what it was. It was rather meaningless to me.
Okay, so at the very towards the very end of the report.
Pages 80 to 90.
Okay, I'll take a look at that and see what that's all about. I don't have it handy. If I pull it up, I'll probably lose something here. So. Well,
Okay.
actually, yeah. No, actually, I'm sorry. I did have it here. Hold on, just a sec. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. I had it open on my screen earlier. Maybe I can do that. Oh, it's here. Magic is wonderful here. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, let me just run through here. Let's just scroll down.
So starting there.
Okay, this is his PowerPoint to the select board. This was the joint meeting we had in November.
All right, so it's just a reference to that. No, well, yes, carry on with your scrolling.
Yeah, and these are his PowerPoint slides. This is his actual presentation.
So that's part of the survey. So but that's not really identified very clearly up at the top.
No. Yeah. So either it doesn't need to be there because it's already been dealt with, or it needs to be better labeled in this section.
It's not new information. That's the thing I'm thinking. We've got all these graphs and all the information farther up in the report.
Yeah, we do. We have the body of it. We've got the narrative, in the places about housing where people talked about, what they liked about town, what they didn't like or did like about their housing situation, etc. That's all part of the report. Sorry, the survey report, which is up above. And when he presented to select board, he only picked out a few sections of our survey results, I think, to present. He didn't go through every section in his final slides here. He kind of summarized some things here. So he did make something here. This was, I think, maybe the first slide you were referring to. And all this is, this was the joint meeting. So that's, yeah, you'd have to realize that this is.
I don't think it refers to it being a PowerPoint presentation. And I would argue that the report is so long that redundant information could be axed.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. I see what you mean. Okay. Now I got it. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Valid. Okay. Well, listen, I'm not going to probably get anything to him for a couple of days anyway, once I can corral some notes from Cindy's handiwork when she's got some time here. And basically just on these comments so that we can give him some further guidance here. But if you think of anything that you'd like to add, just pass it on, and we will hopefully come back with a better product that we can all use and really help us move forward, I think. Okay.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, okay. So with that in mind, if and nobody has anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn. I'm not going to schedule another meeting yet until we know more when we'll get this report. So let's just hold off until we know that we've got a reason to get together. How's that for now?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So with that, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. Roll call, please.
Seenie, aye.
Okay.
Palmer, yes.
Taylor, I.
Fowles eye. All right, good. Well, thanks, everybody. Let's call it quits at 7:59. And thank you very much. And stay well. Don't shovel too much snow tomorrow.
Thank you, Chris.
I hope you're.
Thanks, Chris.
Listen, we must have brought you some good luck. All the lights stayed on Cold Spring and Lead Mine and Rattle Hill. So
They appear to be off across the street from me, though. I'll tell you, it's very dark over there. I don't know.
it could be.
Okay, you
All
take
right.
care, everybody.
Thank
Good
you, guys. Bye
See
bye.
ya.
Night.
Night, everybody.